Hello guys, Sudarshan here. Welcome back to Data Science Basics. We are on the 30 days of Databricks series and this is the 19th video. If you want to watch the previous ones, please refer to the playlist. In the last one, what we did was we upgrade from the community edition to the free trial. This is the page that we landed after we upgrade to the free version. So how this video will proceed is, first I will quickly show you the difference between the free trial as well as the community edition, and then I will show you how you can create cluster based on this free trial, because before we were restricted to create the cluster, but now we can create the cluster that we want. Let's get started. Just to show you the difference between the two UIs, and by the way, one good part, I didn't notice this, but once you upgrade to the free version, also the community edition will be always there. This is the community edition. I upgraded this and the URL will be different. That's the only part that you need to be careful about. And if you go to the community edition, you can use the same username and password you used before in order to log in into the community edition. So this is the community edition. I already showed you the UI, and just the main thing here is in the left side. As you can see, this is just the data science and engineering and machine learning, and there are some of the things which are common to those. But now if you go to the free trial version, here there is some of the things which are common as before also, but as you can see here, there is SQL, there is data engineering, and there is machine learning. We had before data science and engineering and machine learning. In that also we didn't have that much of the things. So if I go to the SQL part, you can see now we have SQL editor, queries, dashboards, alerts, query history, SQL warehouses. I will create a completely new video with this, so I'm not going to go inside this now, but you get the idea. And this is in the premium version. If you have chosen the standard version, then probably this SQL is not there because I haven't tested that myself, but it shows when I create the free version that which one to choose. So I choose the premium version. And in the data engineering, there are the things which are related to that particular topic. That's the difference here. And there is job runs, data ingestion, and delta live tables. This is related to the data engineering part. And in the machine learning, before we just had the experiments, and I showed you one simple example with ML flow, but when we try to register the model, it was throwing the error because there was not this models part there. But now here we have features, that is feature stores, where we can store our features for the model. Models can be registered and we can solve the model, and solving can be done from this UI. So I might create a completely new video towards the end of this series about end-to-end machine learning pipeline in Databricks. Stay tuned for that. Okay, what next is, here there is this search place here. There was also the search place in the community edition. It was here. There is the search. It says search workspace, and in this one there is source data, notebooks, recents, and everything. Here you can source from there. And there is this marketplace and the partner connect. So if I go to the marketplace, you can see that Databricks marketplace powered by delta sharing. So you can see many things here. I'm not going to go through now, but you get the idea. You can choose the products, and there is this partner connect. This is really good part, because if you are used to working with some of the things which are mentioned here, let's say that you are used to with using Power BI and you want to integrate that into Databricks, you can use that through the partner connect. That is the good part here. And other things are the same. That's the UI part. Now I don't want to spend too much time here, but you can follow the, okay, get started with Databricks things. Here is shown how you can do many things. This is just a normal tutorial or helpful documentation provided by Databricks. And one thing before I go to the compute part is, you don't always need to go to the email in order to go to your workspace. If you go on top of this, there is this account, manage account. If you go to the manage account, then this is the account section from where you can manage your workspace. We created one workspace, but when we were creating the free trial, this was visible to you. So there was this workspace, and from here you can see that I have created the workspace, which is this one. So you can go to this account page and maybe you can bookmark this, so that when you want to go with the Databricks part, you can always come here and go to the workspace and then just go here. If you go here, then you will get the URL, so you can go to the place where I just showed you. So this is the same thing which I showed you before. This is how it works. Now let's go to the next part, how you can create the compute. For that, you can go to this compute. As before, there was also compute in the Databricks Community Edition. There was compute, but here we couldn't create the compute as our choice because it was just restricted. And one thing is you cannot start from here in the Community Edition. It throws some error. But if you go to the new free trial now, we can go to this compute part. Here it says, okay, free trial ends in 14 days. Continue with a pay-as-you-go subscription by providing your billing information. So if you are going to continue after this, you need to provide the billing information. Otherwise, let's not go through this. It will show us the information until 14 days. And here is this all-purpose cluster. And I hope now you also see that before there were just this all-purpose cluster, job compute, but now we have SQL warehouses. When I click this SQL things automatically pops up there, and there is a starter warehouse already being created by default for me, and this is size is small, and I haven't done anything here. There is this pools, you can create the pools, and there is this policies. Okay, what is the policies of job compute? You can go through and read here. I'm not going to go through, but let's go to this all-purpose compute. And if you go here and create compute, I will click this create compute. Okay, this new things pop ups here now. Before there was just the thing that is given by the Databricks. So here there is the summary, meaning by default there is 2 to 8 workers. If you see here, minimum and maximum workers, and then it is 64 to 244 GB of memory, 8 to 32 cores, and there is one driver, 30.5 memory, 4 cores. Runtime is 13.3, which is chosen here. And if I go with this and say create compute, as you can see here, there is this 6 to 18 dBu per hour. That is Databricks unit per hour. I showed you before also how to choose the Databricks unit, dBu. So it is using the Unity catalog. There is Photon enabled, there is i3 large and this. But where does this i3 large comes from? Whatever we create here, it is going to spawn the cluster in the AWS, and then we can use here. That's the reason we connected to our AWS account. Always be careful. Don't just go with the create compute. It may occur a big cost for you in AWS. Always go with the one that you need based on your use cases. For here, if you go to the unrestricted, you can choose whatever you want. So this is the admin kind of things where you just want to go, but I don't recommend you to go with this. What happens, I will show you. If you go to unrestricted, there is multi-node, and here if you go to runtime, this is just the runtime you can choose. But if you go to this i3 large, you can see that there is no restriction, and you can create as big as 256 GB. This is R6 i8 large. By the way, it is good part here also is that it is showing, okay, if you want the memory optimized kind of instances, you can go with this one. Storage optimized, you can go with this one. And there is memory optimized, you can choose one of these. And there is general purpose, always go with the general purpose, and M6i large is the smallest one, we can choose that. But I'm not going to go with the unrestricted. I will go here and choose the personal compute. It will say you, okay, when you change the compute policy, you lose all settings except the compute name. Are you sure you want to continue? I can say confirm. And by the way, one thing also, it says here Sudarshan Quetalaz compute, but you can just rename this whatever you want, so that it's clearer for the next person in your company who is working knows that, okay, whose cluster is this, or in what purpose the cluster is being created. What I can just say here is also, let's say that, okay, Sudarshan, and I can say here YouTube, so that YouTube tutorial, let's say. So if I was not the admin, and if I was just creating this, the admin or others who have access to view the cluster, so knows that, okay, this is my compute, and then it is created for YouTube tutorials. And okay, this is the single user access, it's me. And performance, so Databricks runtime version. So as I said you before also, based on the runtime version you choose, many things are affected behind the scene. If you go with the machine learning part, then there is the libraries that are installed for machine learning stuffs. And now as you can see, we can even use GPU if you need the GPU. and with the standard, but I'm going to go with the standard, but you get the idea. If you go with, let's say, 14 ml GPU, okay, it says here that this Spark version is incompatible with the selected driver and worker nodes type. You need to be careful which one to choose, as the node type is i3x large and it is throwing the error for us. But if I change this GPU accelerated to this one, okay, the error goes away. So you need to play around which one you want, and also go with the documentation and see which one is best suitable for your use cases. And now I can say here terminate after. Here it says 4320 minutes of inactivity, but for me or for you also, if you are just exploring, you can just put 10 minutes of inactivity, or maybe less also, because if you are just in front of your computer and once you go away, if you want the compute to be just terminated, you can just put less as you want, but depending upon your use case. But I'm just putting here 10 because I'm not going to go away when I create the tutorials. And here instance profile, we haven't created this, but in the organization you might have some instance profile. You can go here and check what it is. And tags, you can provide the tags. I can say key is YouTube, value is tutorial, just normal things. So I can say add, okay, tag is being added. And by the way, when I change these things, as you can see here, now the DBU unit is 0.71 only per hour, although I'm using GPU. But I'm not going to go with the GPU. I'm just going with the standard 13.3 LTS. And it says that Spark is not compatible because I don't want to use the GPU. I can go here, storage optimize, I don't want this. Or okay, there is no option for me in the personal compute. I can just say then maybe i3x large. I can go with this one. It is 1 dBu per hour. But as you can see here, when I choose the GPU, it was lesser, and when I now use the normal, it is higher. So depending upon the things that you choose, it depends. I can say terminate after 10 minutes of inactivity. And when I create this now, okay, it is going to create. So this compute, it has Unity catalog enabled. The instance I'm going to use is i3x large, and the amount is 1 dBu per hour. So this is how it is shown here. And I use i3x large, and you will be built now in AWS based on this i3x large. So now as you can see here, it is spawning up the cluster. It says here finding instances for new nodes, acquiring more instances if necessary. So this is how it works. And if you even have gone to the more advanced, here there are the things where you can, okay, there is instances, auto availability zone, it will just take the normal one, and you can put some Spark config. There is the logging init scripts. If you want to install some drivers, you can install here, SSH, and all the different things. So I'm not going to go through this now. Okay, just for the demonstrations, I'm creating the cluster. But when this cluster is being created, I will show you now the thing that I showed you in the Databricks Community Edition, that once you create the cluster in Databricks Community Edition, you cannot start it again. It will throw us the error, cluster start feature is currently disabled. You need to create the cluster again and again. But the good part also there is, you can just go here and do the clone and just provide different name here and create compute. It is going to create the compute, but you need to create again and again. But in the free trial and in the pro versions, once you create the compute, it will be there, and if you want to start again, you can just restart it. I will show you how to do that. Let's see how long it will take. By the way, instead of waiting, I will just show you, okay, this is the normal things when you create the cluster, but I will go back now to the compute part. Here I will show you other things also when this is being created. I can go to create compute. Now let me show you the unrestricted part. So when I go to unrestricted part, now as you can see, there is this minimum and maximum workers also you can choose. Before it was not allowed for me in the personal compute. What you can do, there is this multi-node and single node. If I choose the multi-node, meaning that I can have minimum workers and maximum workers. I hope you know the concept of workers. Let's say that I have the simple tasks to do and only 2 workers is, let's say, not go with the workers, but let's say instance. It's easier to understand. Only 2 instance, or you can just remove this to 1 instance. But let's say that you are using some high compute, you have large data set and you need more workers to spin off, what happens is once you provide maximum 8, based on your need, more instances will be spawned for you and those will be used in order to do the compute. So it means that the task will be faster, but many instances will be created for you behind the scene. So yeah, now let's go through this also. I'll show you. I'm going with multi-node. As you can see, it is 16 to 18 dbu. This is the single user. It's just me here, but this is shared and no isolation shared. You can just go through this, but I don't recommend you to go now. And then there is this Databricks runtime version. You can choose the one that you want. Okay, by default it is 13.3 LTS. It's fine. And use photon acceleration. What is photon acceleration? If you hover on top of this, it says that photon accelerates modern Apache Spark workloads, reducing your total cost per workload. That's good. You can use it. Use photon acceleration. And now you can choose the worker type. So storage optimized, or let's say memory optimized, or let's say that you have a huge memory needed for something to do. You can just go with the 256 GB of RAM and 32 cores. If I go this one, if you notice here, there is 48 to 147 dbu hours. Why it is showing 48 to 147 is because we have minimum workers to maximum 8. If I change this to, let's say, 10, let me go in front and put 10, as you can see, it increases. That's the reason it is showing us the range there. I can just go with 5 maybe, and it is 98. Based on the minimum and maximum workers, it is showing us, okay, this might be the dbu hour. And as I showed you, you can choose this big also, but you need to pay more. And same as worker, so you can choose the driver type, anything you want. You don't need to go with the same one that you choose for the worker type. You can go with, let's say, this one, and as you choose this one, there is change in the dbu per hour also. And here there are the two instances being shown. So first I choose R6i, there is one instance, and then I choose the driver type different, there is another instance. This is how it keeps on providing us the summary. As you can see here, 2 to 5 workers, you will be using 512 to 1280 GB memory. You seem, okay, why should we need that much? But that is needed sometimes. And here is the auto scaling. Now if you have chosen the premium version, you can see the auto scaling, but when you created the free trial, if you have gone with the standard ones, it is not provided because it has shown there that auto scaling is not possible. Auto scaling meaning that compute that automatically scales between the minimum and the maximum number of nodes. That is what I said you. If you need 2 nodes, 2 nodes will be there. If you need 5 nodes, 5 nodes will be there. And you can just turn it off also. And when you turn it off, it just shows the one worker. So that's the reason that auto scaling is, when there is the need of certain nodes, only those will be running, others will not be running. When you need more will be running, and when the task needs less, it will automatically terminate, and then the less one will be just running. So cost saving in a way. And now it says enable auto scaling local storage. So if you go on top of this, you can just read this. If you want, you can go with this. And now it says terminate after 120 minutes of inactivity. As I said you before also, based on your need. When you change this, then after 12 minutes of inactivity, it will terminate itself. And other things are the same here. If you now go to the advanced options, on demand spot composition, 2 to 8 workers, this to this, and 64 to 256 cores. So as you can see, one driver, 2 to 8 drivers, spot fallback on demand. So what is this? If the EC2 spot price exceeds the bid, use on demand instances instead of spot instances. Now you need to know also the spot instance. If you are completely new, then don't worry about this. It says here, this is 1 on demand first, followed by 8 spot. So we don't need to go into depth into this, but you get the idea. When we choose the instances in AWS, this is how it will work behind the scene. So here there are different things. IAML role pass through. If you want to have this in a specific region, you can go here and choose, let's say, EU West 1A, and it will be just spawning that cluster or maybe let's say instance in that particular region. In AWS, that is how it works. You can choose the one where you want to work, and there is max spot price. You can provide the price how much you want to go. So 100% of on-demand instant prices, or you can just choose whatever you want. But for this you need to have a good knowledge of spot instances also. But I'm just showing you that it's possible to do these kind of things in the free trial of the Databricks Compute. And now EBS volume type and all different things are being shown here. I'm not going to go through here, but you get the idea. You can create any kinds of cluster in Databricks Compute. Now I think our cluster is being created. Okay, it is being created. It says here Sudarshan YouTube tutorial. Now I can attach to my notebook as it was before in my community edition. But what I can do now is I can just go here. Okay, are you sure you want to terminate the cluster? Yes, I want to terminate it. So if it was inactive and I just went from here, after 10 minutes it would be terminated. But now I terminated myself. And the good idea is, although you have the auto terminate, always terminate in order to reduce the cost. And now there is these three dots. It says clone and delete, and there is new things now called edit permission. If you want to edit the permission, there is this start things. Before we were not able to start, but now if I click this, it says are you sure you want to start the cluster? I can say confirm. Okay, now it is starting the cluster again. So this is the difference between these two. It will save some time for you, because let's say that you are creating a compute. As I showed you, there were many things to choose when you create the compute. Once you create the compute, it's easy that you can terminate and start when you need it. That is the convenient way. So yeah, that's how you can do. I will terminate this once this is done, but we don't need to wait until this is started again, because I showed you how you can start, how you can terminate, and how you can restart again from that terminated cluster. Okay, that's all for this video. It went little bit longer, but I hope now you get the idea how you can create the compute in Databricks free version, or maybe in the pro version. In the next video, I will be showing you the advanced functionalities of Databricks free trial. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.